My name's Garvin Eastman. I grew up in Bristol, New Hampshire, and I actually attended the Mayhew Program when I was 11 and 12 years old, and I basically stayed connected with the program ever since I attended as a camper. So now I live in Bridgewater, New Hampshire, which is actually one town over from Bristol. I've stayed in the area that I grew up in, and I currently work at Concord Hospital. One of the traditions is called the Mayhew March, where you pick, again, the top campers and you take them out for a 3-day, 2-night overnight trek into the White Mountains. And again, just another, the tradition's been there for a very long time, and it's pretty meaningful, to take a boy that maybe has never hiked before. The first experience they had hiking was at the summer camp, and then to take them out for an overnight hike into the White Mountains is pretty cool. I did the Mayhew March both as a boy, and then I did it as a counselor as well with other boys. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I get a lot of stories because, well, from the boy perspective, I just remember this was like one of the coolest experiences ever. I'm up there in the White Mountains. I think there were 3 or 4 other boys that went the session that I went. Just being with the counselors, having that time together, and just the beauty of the mountains. It was really the first time I'd ever hiked, so that stands out to me. As a counselor, the time that stands out most to me is running into a bear. It was the second night of our expedition, and myself and Dave Emerson, the other counselor at the time, I can remember, we were on top of this mountain, and a guy was hiking up the other way, and he asked where we were staying, and we said, oh, we're going to stay at this particular campground, and he goes, oh, you might want to be careful about that because we've heard that there's a lot of bears in there. So, this is in the middle of the day, and we've pretty much got our journey set. We've got 4 boys, and we know where we're going, and there aren't other campsites that we can go to, so we ended up going there. And we had dinner, and Dave and I were down by a little stream, and we were cleaning the plates and the utensils from having our meal, and we heard this noise behind us, and I looked at Dave and I said, Dave, did you hear that? And he goes, no, I didn't hear anything. And so he goes, Garvin, did you hear that? I think I did hear something. So we turn around, and there was a little bank. We had to go up the bank to be able to see the campsite, and here's a huge black bear between us and the tents where the boys were. The boys were in the tents at the time, and it had one of our packs in its mouth. I mean, the pack was full at the time. We hadn't had a chance to and it just had that thing up in the air, shaking it around. And Dave and I looked at each other, and you're never supposed to run when you see a bear. Dave and I looked at each other, and we ran up the stream bed. It was not, it wasn't like it was like maybe a couple inches of water in the stream bed, and we ran up the stream beds just to get away from the bear because it was dealing with the pack. And we looked at each other and we said, there's a bear in the middle of our campground. What are we going to do? So it was pretty frightening, actually, and we ended up kind of sneaking around behind where the bear was and getting the boys out of the tents. They, at the time, heard the bear, and so they zipped open their tent and saw the bear right in the middle of the campsite, and they were scared to death. I can remember we came up behind the tent and we're like, hey, guys, are you in there? Because we weren't sure, a couple tents set up, and we weren't sure which one they're in. They were very scared, very upset. They're like, what are we going to do? We got to get out of here. So, yeah, tense moments. And we made our way away from our campsite and grabbed our flashlights. We found some other campsites along the way to let them know, hey, we're from Mayhew, and of course it's getting dark out. It's got to be 8:30, 9 o'clock at night when all this is occurring. We stopped at one site and we said, hey, we just want to let you know we're leaving. We're abandoning our campsite. Like, we can't stay there. There's a bear in the middle of it. We don't have any way to scare it off. So they got scared and they abandoned their campsite and ended up coming with us. So by the time all is said and done, I think there were 3 other parties of people that ended up hiking out of this campground with us. In the middle of the night, we hiked down to the main road and ended up calling and having our group come and pick us up. So anyways, kind of a long story, but it's famous in Mayhew history, the time that we had to abandon our campsite because we ran into a black bear. Yeah.